So, welcome to another episode of the podcast Dyslexia with Success. Today, I'm your host, Petronila Engeka, and I have a special guest with me, Rachel. Welcome, Rachel, to our podcast. And I'm so excited today to have you to interview you and have this amazing conversation around the subject of dyslexia. Thank you very much. How are you today?
Thank you, Petronila. Yeah, no, thank you as well, because it's lovely, that people are getting to know a little bit more about and really, what challenges us and what the ups and downs of dyslexia are, and yeah, the common knowns. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
it's
so tell us
it's
a little bit
fascinating
about
subject.
the most shocking thing that you think people are surprised about dyslexia, around dyslexia. What's a surprising thing you've heard about dyslexia?
So I really feel that dyslexia is like a gift more than anything,
Yeah.
because I think, in life we're either above average or below average generally in dyslexia. So because we are potentially below average in some things, it makes us much more above average in other things. So there's the weighing scales,
The yin and
there's nothing
yang,
good or
you may call
bad.
it that way.
Yeah, there's only thinking that makes it so. But yeah, people think that it's a disability to a certain extent, but it's
Mhm.
actually quite the contrary. In fact, dyslexic people are very good with people
Mhm.
because, we can relate to them.
You're
And I think
compassionate.
that, yeah, that because you go through all sorts of challenges, don't you? And it's the challenges that make us, really. It's not how you fall, it's how you get up.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much about that. So tell us about yourself. Who is Rachel or yeah, what you do? Tell
So
us,
what do
tell
I?
us.
I grew up in Brazil. So and in Brazil, Portuguese is spelt the way it's said. So it's so much easier for dyslexics in Portugal or in Brazil in order to be able to write. But I learned English when we moved to England at
Are you
8 years old.
English or you're Brazilian?
No, I am English, but I was a few months old when we flew over to
Okay.
Brazil, and I stayed there until I was 8, and then learned English when I came back
Mhm.
from Brazil, and that was so difficult because nothing was spelt the way it was said, and
No.
I found it really, yeah, quite debilitating because I was, put into classes, and I think ordinarily we're put into these boxes, and this is the only way that you can learn. But actually, we learn in a much more creative way as dyslexics.
Mm.
And I do a lot of lip reading, for
Mm.
example, to
Okay.
understand people. And if I can't see their lips move, I find it difficult sometimes to understand them. But that's something that I'm below average in. But then when I see somebody's face, I can lip read as well.
So you're
I get
visual. You're
numbers.
very visual then, shall we say?
Very visual, yes. And I get numbers mixed up, I get letters mixed up, and
That's
G's
same
and
here. Celebrate that with me. I have so the writing moves on the page like it moves.
yeah,
My eye moves out
yeah,
of line, something like that.
exactly. And my mum was desperate for me to get a test because she understood I was dyslexic, and the school refused to have me tested. So I think they had to pay £350, which at the time was, it's like 30 something years ago now. It was a lot of money, but it concluded that yes, I was quite badly dyslexic and I was having problems learning English and being able to spell. And actually, I didn't do any languages at school because my English was just so below par that they wanted me to focus on the English so that I could improve that. But yeah, I had so many dyslexic lessons, and I think that was a time really, especially at school, and the way in which they indoctrinate you into these kind of little boxes of this is how you must learn, and you must learn trigonometry, and but there isn't it's like when you learn a language, you learn to ask for an ice cream, and then you go to the country and you actually you find out how to ask for an ice cream and you get an ice cream, so there's a real incentive behind that. Whereas, you learn all these things trigonometry, but you're not taught why you're trying to learn them, or whether it's, if you're going to become an architect, or whether there's something with, engineering that you need the mathematics for. But there isn't the kind of the inspiration behind it to drive you, and the passion, because I think passion is really one of the keys to life more than anything.
Yeah,
So
after all of
yeah,
that challenges, you have come out and today as an adult, a very successful one. So tell us a little bit about that. What's your
yeah,
business? The opportunity
yeah.
for us to get to know the other beautiful things you do.
Well, I've learned a lot about health and how not to do things. I think is it Thomas Edison, the light bulb, he
Yeah.
discovered hundreds of ways how not to do it. And so I did with health, that's what I've done with the dyslexia side of things. And whilst I was at university, I learned about different ways in which we can help dyslexia. And I actually at the Dyslexic Institute at the university, because I had to get tested
Where did
again.
you go to university?
So I went, it was actually in Scarborough, in North Yorkshire, but it was affiliated with York. So I had my first degree with York University, and then I did a master's because I sorted out all my dyslexia within 6 weeks. And what I did was I made myself a wobble board, and I learned that anything to do that makes you dizzy, not alcohol, anything that makes you dizzy basically is really good for stimulating the back of the brain. Not that I understand it completely. And so I would wobble on the board, and when I got good at it, I put the up against next to the wall, and I'd put my hands on the wall and close my eyes. And they're all kind of like giggly exercises because it was actually quite good fun and kind of really trying to collaborate and feel, the center of gravity. And that's the part that when that's stimulated, it sorts out literacy, so all the spelling and all that side of things, numeracy, and then so the numbers swapping round and getting all confusing, and then memory. So my memory was phenomenal after 6 weeks. So I did the wobble board and then I did spinning. And the spinning, once you're dizzy and you stand and you're recalibrating your center of gravity, that is what really stimulates the back of the brain. And it is phenomenal. So I thought, well, I'll try it for 6 weeks. I've got nothing to lose.
Hmm,
So I finished
that's
my
good.
degree, but I thought nothing can stop me. I had no problems any longer with all these kind of like, I felt like they were hoops, that you'd jump through one hoop and figure it out and sort it out, but then there was another spelling or something else that you've been fine with all your life, and then all of a sudden there was a new issue, and I couldn't grasp it, but there were no more loops anymore to jump through. So
Hmm.
I thought, well, I could do anything. So I did a master's in internet computing. It was a 1 year, and I learned all the programming languages and learned how to build websites and databases, and yeah, it was quite complicated, but it was amazing. So I then became a consultant for the banks, and I'm a people person, so and I love building teams, and I love mindset and people that have a can-do attitude. So I was good at building the teams, and I didn't want to really program, but I knew because no one could pull the wool over my eyes.
Yeah.
I knew when somebody would say it was 3 months to build something, but actually no, it would take 2 weeks. And I knew to say, well, that's a load of nonsense. So
That's good.
yeah, no. So that was key to then building teams and helping the banks, Avon Cosmetics, Mercedes, Jaguar Land Rover, councils, police. There was a whole array of different. It was the big corporates really, but you have this attitude that the big corporates are all sorted, and you're just going to go in and tweak a few things. But no, that the systems that they've got in their back end, were rubbish. Same with Royal Bank of Scotland. There was nothing was really connected, so we had to start from scratch to create a whole new platform for any internet banking, for the corporates, for the retail. Um, so
So
it
you're
was
very
it was
creative then.
fascinating. But
Mm,
yeah, I love people, and
mm,
I love building teams, and I love leading teams, and
mm.
so I learned
So
a lot
your
about project
leadership
management.
skills, would you say your dyslexia helped with your leadership skills?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so because I'm a people person. So I wasn't great at the spelling, at the written work initially,
Mm.
but because of that, I made up for it with people skills.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
I
You
I I love,
compensate, should I say?
yeah. Now I don't know if it's part of dyslexia, but I'm rubbish with jokes. So when
Oh.
somebody tells me a joke, I generally don't get it because I'm so
Mm.
literal.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
But
Like it has
um
to be the physical stuff. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, because I am very literal, and I think, yeah, in my life everything is quite literal. But since so when I moved back up north, we started helping people with their health basically. So we started building these magnetic bowls, and it's
What is that
helped.
in your hand?
So this is a magnetic bowl that we've started. So we make them at home
Okay.
basically,
You
and
make it in your home.
yeah.
Okay.
They're all made, they're all homemade, but it's kind of like a pride and joy because we've helped about 3,000 people around the world. It's absolutely phenomenal. And
What do
all
you
these
use it for?
magnets. So you can use it for arthritis, you can use it for any kind of pain basically or inflammation in the body. So it helps repair bones, it repairs muscle, it helps with all sorts. So it will restructure the spine for people that have scoliosis. I'm not a health practitioner or anything like that, and it's not medical advice, but the results are phenomenal. Somebody with a snap neck, had their whole spine what is it?
Constructed, yeah.
Reconstructed so that it does it naturally. And so, yeah, so within 4 days, this lady that was born with a snap neck was basically her whole spine realigned, and she could feel her spine with her left hand. She'd never been able to do that.
Mm.
And epilepsy, it stops these epileptic seizures, especially when it's static, because there are some that were made that span. But we find the static ones, where you can just place them on the body wherever you've got pain. You can't use it if you've got a pacemaker because it can reset it, and you have to be very careful with children because it can lift about 180 kilos in metal weight, which is about two people basically. So each one of these can lift nearly 3 kilos, and there's 40 of them, and they're all very tightly packed in. You'd never ordinarily get this amount of magnets together. And so because they're all pointing to this one point, it creates this kind of it's just this heavenly kind of like center point. And when you place it on the body, it has phenomenal effects.
Can
And
you do
and
it for
animals.
mindfulness then, like
Yes,
awareness
and
and mindfulness?
it's your chi, it's being centered,
It's your
being
sacrum or
yeah.
sacra or whatever they call it.
Chakra. Well, there's
Chakra.
there's your chakras, isn't there?
Mm.
Um, and and it's really good for being, feeling calm and for anxiety and things. People use it a lot for that side and for the
If
mindfulness
somebody
too.
wants to buy it, where can they find it?
So that's the logo essentially, but it's
Hi.
hiddenrainbow.net.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so hiddenrainbow.net is where you can find them. They're £200 each, but they are absolutely phenomenal. A guy had a migraine for 20 years, bless him, and he put it in his hat for 3 days, and he's never had a migraine since. And
I
it would,
probably need one.
hey,
I probably need one.
yeah, oh, they're absolutely phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, so we started making these magnets and helping all these people, and it's kind of taken off from there. And then I got Lyme's disease last year, and I was able to sort it out with different kind of healing because this doesn't help with parasites. So and Lyme's is caused from a tick, and I did all the wrong things.
Mhm.
You're not anyway. But long story short, I was able to sort it out with a different device, an ENS. But yes, and that's a totally different subject. But
So how was the
yeah,
success of the magnet? What's the success? What would you call the success of that magnet? The success story. So your
so the
business, how well has
yeah,
it done for you? And is
well,
that all you do for your
well,
livelihood?
it was such a shock because I'd given it to a friend's mum who had arthritis because we didn't know whether it was going to help arthritis or not. And after just over a month, she came off all these painkillers and then came off her cancer drugs and all sorts of things, purely because she had no more pain any longer. And so he wanted to do a show with me, so we did the show. But then there were so many people that wanted them. We ended up having to build a little army here. So it was quite intense, and I didn't have a logo for a year, so I didn't have any branding sorted. We were still figuring out the packaging because you have to, really slam these things up, and I have to do a video to show you how to open it, because it's got so much magnetism in it. If it goes along the post and gets stuck in their systems, we'd get charged a whole load of money. So we have to slam up this. And so I have to do a video of how do you physically open the post.
Oh, okay.
So
Very interesting.
and then I do a video of how to use it as well, because so many people. I mean, what I do is there's chasing the pain. There's people that have a lot of people have bad backs and or need a hip replacement, and it can help all of those things, which is it's phenomenal. But
Great.
and it's a learning curve for everything, but so because we'd helped, because I wasn't very well, so I'd helped, kind of create a team. So I worked on the business and not in the business. And as I got steadily better, I'd heard about some funding for humanitarian projects. So I was able to, and it's been a phenomenal journey. I went around lots of festivals last year and collated lots of people that wanted to do projects for humanity. And
Mm,
so I came up with 17 projects and was basically going to deploy those. Now, what I've done is I've whittled it down to 5 big projects for communities, for energy, for retreats,
mm.
for disruptive health technologies, and for disruptive health technology insurance, because I can't post these abroad without saying that they're a magnetic sculpture and that you're not allowed to send anything to do with healing. That's
Yeah.
it's the crazy world that we live in. So I send this as a magnetic sculpture. I mean, it is quite beautiful,
Mm,
because of the way in which it's like geometric, and it's like a flower, but it's phenomenal. The most incredible piece of kit I think I've ever come across, and it's good for so many different things. So that's why I love it. But then we're doing all these big humanitarian projects for 160 million. It's not small pieces of work, and that's part of my dyslexia, because I decided to learn more about mindset and how do we talk to ourselves
mm.
and how we talk to ourselves, and also the people that we hang around with. We become the average of the 5 people
Yes.
we hang around with.
Mm.
And if somebody doesn't make you feel good about yourself, then you don't need them in your life,
That's
is
correct.
point of view. And
Very true.
it's so important. And we I think there's a lack of love for ourselves sometimes, and in order to surround yourself and to treat yourself the way you should be treated, and it's magical when those things come about, because you go more towards passion. And when something's so passionate, like all these podcasts that you're doing, it's phenomenal, because there's real passion behind it, because
Yes.
you felt the pain, and but there's
Yeah,
another
I
journey.
felt alone. I felt alone. So I thought, how can I make other people feel better? Because when you meet a dyslexic and a dyslexic meets another dyslexic, there is just an understanding because you know the struggle, you know the joy, you know the celebration. When you can't find that word to say what you wanted to say, it's not because you're dumb or you're unintelligent. It's just because there was that mind block there. And then after that incident, you find multiple words that you could have said, but the
Yeah.
world is not patient to wait for us to think in that light. Do you understand?
No.
And that's why I'm so excited about what I'm doing right now.
Mm,
This is not where I get my livelihood, but I get a lot of joy having this
yeah.
conversation with you and other people. And the joy that I have had in having conversation with other people is what I really want to share with other people. Let them have this joy that I have had. I want to share it. I'm excited. Like you need to hear Rachel's story. You need to hear my story. And together we are a community. Find your tribe. Just like you said,
Yeah.
be around people who make you feel better.
Yes, exactly. And it's such a simple thing, but sometimes quite difficult to implement, because, we have family, that
Yes.
aren't necessarily always very supportive.
Supportive.
And I got my dyslexia from my father. He's very dyslexic. And he was there were missionaries building churches in Brazil. And so we were kind of traveling around Brazil. But he had a lot of things to overcome as well, because he would have to read in front of everybody in the church.
Oh,
And I think it scared the living daylights out of him to start with, and I wouldn't blame him. But I ended up doing a lot of talking and a lot of speaking. I spoke in front of 2,500 people
Wow.
in a wealth and business conference in LA. And that was in 2017 because I wanted to see how I would react. And I love challenging all my fears. I love. I did hypnotherapy because I discovered I was afraid of deep water. So I did hypnotherapy and then decided that surfing was good. But then I realized I was just chasing storms. So then I tried diving. And
Yeah.
then I went to Egypt and lived on a boat for 10 days and it was frightening. But as soon as I was in the water, it was like I was like surrounded by angels. It was the most beautiful feeling. And so that helped cure that fear. And then I've had a fear of heights. So I've been climbing up ladders and I've been doing all the, but then I started flying helicopters because I thought, it would be
Wow. That's
great.
even more exciting.
It's really exciting. But I'm very good spatial awareness, and I think dyslexics. So when anyone that is dyslexic always does dancing, it's something to do with balance, bike riding, walking, running, all these things that is intrinsic to us. And the spinning, have you ever noticed children in the supermarket spinning?
Some of them they like to do
Yeah.
the spinning.
Well,
Yeah.
I go up and talk to the mum and I say that is the most intelligent child I have seen in here today because that spinning is amazing for them. It
Yeah.
is so
You
amazing.
said something that I wanted to go back on. The fact that you
Yes.
got your dyslexia from your father, and it's
Yeah.
something that I want my audience to take home with them, is that dyslexia is hereditary. I am dyslexic. I have a dyslexic son. Their father is incredibly intelligent, so he went to school all on scholarship basically because of his smartness. And I have always been the average student in class, and my
Yeah.
son got the dyslexia from me. So that's something that parents sometimes, when they see their children struggling, they don't want to relate to it as if it came from them. They want to feel like, oh, why is this child doing this? But they
Yeah.
forget to think it could be from them. They're part of them that came to this world. So
Mm.
those children are part of you. So it's part of you that they're displaying. Have you ever thought about it that way? So I just wanted to bring to light this area of dyslexia and the fact that your dad did so many amazing things, going to live in another country, worked as a missionary, helping people. That's the people skills of him and the people skill that you have today. You know,
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
what our parents are, or we are part of what our parents used to be. It could be so tiny that nobody can see, or it could be so big that everybody can obviously see. So that's
Mm.
something that I really, really appreciate that you've shared with us today. And it is amazing to have shared that because other people out there should not look at their children like, where did this child come from? They came from you and they're part of you. And, dyslexia is hereditary. And I could just imagine if I was asked to read, at school. I was very smart, but it never really translated on paper. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Well,
it's
I'm glad you
something that
thought
I
about
always laugh
yourself.
at myself for, but it is what it is. But then there are things that we should focus on, the things we are good at, like what you're good at. You're good
Yeah.
at making things like your magnet. When I heard the price of it, I was I was shocked because it's so expensive, and I'm sure having healed 3,000 people, 3,000 people buying that's a lot of revenue.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
That's six
absolutely.
figures.
What we did was we created because of all the laws and all the rules around health and things, because I can't say that it helps with any of these things legally, because in the 1930s it was deemed illegal to say cure,
Mm.
So I can't actually say, although the anecdotal
You
evidence is
say it
totally
helps. You can
different.
only
So
say it helps. It helps
it's
people.
amazing, and I can't say it. So everyone has their own research kit. So that's what we've called it essentially. So I created a declaration of charter and constitution, which is for a private research association, which is then different to a limited company, etc.
Mhm.
So, so £500,000 pounds was generated by this, and then I put it back into the research of invisible technologies and invisible energies because I mean I just want to go back to what you'd said about dyslexia being hereditary both my brothers. So I've got an older and a younger brother who are not dyslexic at all. So it was such a shock, when Rachel and Piggy in the middle, had all these problems. And yes, I was, I'd taken over from my dad's side of things. And whether it is her, I have no idea. But it may be because, my dad had all these issues as well. But I think what's amazing is that we are each, every single person, completely individual and completely different, all bring something absolutely phenomenal. And there's
Mm,
no mistake in it. And that's what I love. And when you go back to, how you were when you were a child and
mm,
you love to do certain things, that's what you go back to for passion. And the passion is what drives you. And you can intend things to happen, like the law of attraction. So you can
mm,
intend something to happen, absolutely no problem. And you can create it, but does it fulfill you? And then
mm,
the second thing is if you do something from passion, from a real kind of like, oh, this would be so amazing if we could help more people with dyslexia. We could help them in 6 weeks to just completely abolish all those issues that they've ever had. I mean, I find that so incredibly phenomenal. It is beautiful. And so, when we go towards the passion side of things, we create miracles. And
mm.
miracles, because when you're passionate about it, you go a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further
Exactly.
than other
Yeah,
people, don't you? Because
exactly.
you've got that vision, and your mind explodes mine does. Mine explodes in the evenings, and I have these kind of like visual sessions, and I feel it, and I connect to it, and so it's created much quicker. So that's I suppose the what's it
What would
called?
you say your dyslexia gift or strength is? Is it the
Oh,
passion
do you
or
know,
the creativity?
that's an interesting question. Um, I think you become more creative. But when I say, you can spin and you can sort out all these issues, it doesn't mean to say that you're to being the average at everything. You still keep all those kind of abnormal, I'm way above average in those specific things. But I have a passion for mindset. I have a passion to speak to myself, in the way in which I should be talking to myself. I have a passion for surrounding myself with the most incredible people,
Mm,
and and putting my money where my mouth is to
yeah.
understand and to benefit this world. So there's so much rubbish going on with the world that I want to sort it out with the humanitarian projects. And my phrases is, if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Mm,
But and we can all do that, but it's how do we embark upon that journey, and how do we talk to ourselves so that we can create that for us and for everybody else.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
phenomenal,
Oh,
phenomenal.
one other question I wanted to ask you is you mentioned when we had a conversation that um, you did something around university around dyslexia. Can you talk a little bit around that?
Yeah, so when I got, because your certificate only lasts for 3 years, which I always thought was quite odd, because then you've got to get retested. So it's like this another, Ponzi money scheme kind of thing to a
Mm.
certain extent. So what was the question?
You were talking about how you have to retest every 3 years, so it's
Oh
like a
yes, yeah,
Ponzi
yeah, yeah.
thing.
So yeah, so when I went back to university, I didn't have a certificate that was valid, so I had to be tested again because every 3 years you have to be retested, and it costs money to do so. But through university, it was free, and I was able to get my own home studio because I was doing music technology. Now, I play lots of musical instruments, and I think it's because I'm very good at the listening side of things, and I can hear things amazingly and copy them. So I can watch people playing piano, and then I can just copy it, and I've got it, or I can just make up a piece at that one point. But I started with the violin at 8, and then I went on to the piano, but I never had lessons with the piano. And uh, when I was at university, so just to fast forward, I can go back to the instrument side of things. But at university, they were teaching people, all these additional things of how to cope with dyslexia, but they weren't actually helping with the dyslexia, if that makes sense. So I threw the guy out because he just really wasn't helping anybody, and I was a bit of a bossy bitch at that point in my life. But he wasn't helping. So I said, well, you leave and I can help these people because, what is really improving things for me is this spinning, the wobble board. And there are people that can't do those things because they're not very steadfast on their feet. But one thing that they can do is throw a ball from hand to hand, but you watch the ball and it also makes you dizzy. So those, because if you're going to spin and you're going to fall over and hurt yourself, you don't want to do that. But if you're okay with spinning, then it's brilliant. It's really and it's good fun as well. But throwing a ball from hand can also do the same things. And they're all exercises that are in a book called The Brain Gym.
The brain
And the
gym.
Brain Gym, yeah, the Brain Gym
Mm.
is a phenomenal book. But those three exercises I benefited hugely from because of the way that and like there's all these ways in which you can cross things over and do balances and kind of connect the brain in different ways. But all these things they aid us to sort ourselves out. But I threw out the guy that that was running the Dyslexic Institute because I just didn't think he was adding any value. So I was just wanting to help people, with something that really
So is
worked.
that what you did to help people at uni? So you work in the Dyslexic Institute.
Well, I just took over because, yeah. And then when I was
You just
late,
boss the boss. So like dyslexic people are bosses, so they just went and took over the business and run it.
Right. But this is the passion side of things. I'd found life so difficult, and you're put down so much for dyslexia. And I was so annoyed with this guy because we can sort this out. There is so much that we can do, but people don't tell you. It's the same in so many different ways with the health side of things. With this sorting out, people that don't need to have their hips hacked apart, and a hip replacement being done. Because if you wear it for a month, you don't need a hip replacement, but it's a way for the body to help itself. So that doesn't cure you. What it does is it enables all the cells to work properly within your body and for it to heal itself. And the same way in which we can stimulate our brain, and we can stimulate our brain so that it's working and helping us or working for us in that sense. And it annoyed me so much at university that this guy was just banging on about something that really doesn't help.
Do
I was
you
like, well,
think there is a lot of people who are non-dyslexic, like the neurotypical, going about talking about dyslexia, trying to help people with dyslexia when they don't know what it feels like being dyslexic? Do you think that's the problem? Because that's what I
maybe,
think
maybe.
sometimes is a problem.
Yeah.
The
It
narrative, that's why it's also my reason for the podcast, because I felt like let dyslexics or the neurodivergents tell the story, not the neurotypicals telling the story on your behalf. Let's rewrite the script, because all along is the neurotypicals teaching us what we need to do to be successful in their own way, because 80% of the world functions the way that majority of the world functions, you see.
Mm. Exactly, exactly. And I want to recreate schools so that you would go to have fun. 70% of our schooling system is indoctrination pretty much, but you can learn how to do division when you get a cake. You got a cake, and then you can
Very.
eat your cake when you figured out how much is a third or how much is a quarter or an eighth. And
Yeah.
then trigonometry, you can do it in so many creative ways rather than sitting there with a piece of paper, because there's just a difference in the physical act of doing something compared to, or just like learning how to ask for an ice cream. It's the simple things, but all too often, I don't think they understand the pain that dyslexics go through and the stigma that people put upon
The stigma
dyslexia.
is really
Dyslexia
hard.
is,
I've lost friends because of dyslexia stigma, because I came up and said I'm dyslexic. I'm like, is she dyslexic? Is she just going to say she doesn't know anything?
well,
That's an assumption.
they say slow learner. But yet, if you put somebody that's dyslexic into another type of class where something is more creative, you will find that they will just hugely excel.
Mm,
But
yeah.
we're taught one way learning, and one way is the only way, and it's utter nonsense. So I want to recreate schools, and I want children to choose their own schools, so they've got like maybe five to choose from, and they can choose, they can do a week in each one, and then go back to something that they absolutely love because it agrees with them, and so they can do something with passion. And if we could change that route, so that they don't talk down to themselves, they're not, taking
Just
on what all
celebrate
these
it.
other people. Yeah, celebrate. I think
Very
in
little
my
wins. They celebrate little wins, like
yeah,
being able to jump that you because you've got that so much fear and you are able to
yeah,
do that and everybody say, "Oh, fantastic." Unlike this is normal. What's different here? So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so
But the, and
I
there's
hear you. I hear you.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's phenomenal. I mean, it is a phenomenal world, really, especially when we believe in ourselves, and when we know that anything is possible. Like when I was at school, we I was doing music GCSE. I mean, I was rubbish with my GCSEs, but I had real passion for music. And I could just copy people and play. And so there were all these
That's a
composers
talent,
who'd
actually, being able to see and just copy.
yeah, well, that's it. But I didn't know that that was any different, and I wasn't told that that was a special thing. And my art, I was very good. I did A-level art. I didn't bother with the exam because I couldn't afford it at the time. So, but I didn't bother with A-levels. I just went straight into a degree because I was quite opinionated, and A-levels was just a
That's what
regurgitation of
dyslexics
what I.
are. We believe in ourselves.
So
It's a good laugh because I'm
absolutely.
probably one of
So
them.
I'd heard of all these composers. They were deaf, they'd been blind, and there were all these kind of like health issues. And I thought, oh gosh, what if I ever lost my eyesight? What can I do with passion that makes things possible? So I learned Beethoven with my eyes shut by the time I left school because I got expelled from school. I was naughty at 13 and sent to boarding school, which was heaven for me because we had 30 piano rooms and I was just and we swapped instruments in the evenings. It was brilliant. It was great fun. And I could just sit and play the piano for hours. Oh, I was just in heaven. But I learnt Beethoven with my eyes shut so that I thought, if I ever lost my eyesight, I have something to do with passion and that would keep me going, and then
What's
I could learn other
Beethoven,
things.
if I'm being ignorant? What's
Okay.
Beethoven?
Beethoven is well, he's got a what is it? I can't even remember the tune of it. But it's Beethoven is a composer, so I
Oh,
learned one of
okay.
his pieces, and it's very fast all the way up and down. But I wanted to do something with passion. So yeah, I mean, it's. I thought at the time, it was kind of, like I don't know. I felt it felt impressive, that I could. But it was like I really enjoyed the kind of the Scottish fiddling things on the violin. And then I learned the guitar, but I down tuned it, put a capo on it, and made up my own chords and sang. And I moved to London and did loads of open mic nights. And I'd done busking that really kind of improves your confidence with people because a lot of people ignore you. So you've got to be very confident in yourself to do
Oh,
busking. And it was
definitely.
one of the things that I did in order to improve that. And anyway, but there's all these magical things that we can do. But as long as we go towards the things that we love, we're passionate about, and then also to be of service to other, to be a blessing.
Oh,
Because I've
definitely. To be a blessing. You've just made my day saying that, to be a blessing to other people, because this is what this podcast is for. It takes a lot of patience to listen, but then if you get to the end of it, you see that you get something that you can use to be a blessing to somebody or somebody who is actually listening. You are a blessing to them, Rachel, for being here today. So, what are the three things you would give to an adult who is dyslexic, who's navigating life, and then you give me three things that you can give a parent who's got a dyslexic child, how patient they should be. I'm sure your parents were very tolerant of you.
no,
Sorry,
I think
probably
I, I
I
was
opened
I,
a
I
different
was
can of worm.
I was I was a nightmare. But that there's so many things that happen. There's nothing good or bad. There's only thinking that makes it so. And I would say the three things I think for parents that have children with dyslexia is to promote and to help them with sports that actually encourage their balance.
Mm.
So things to do with balancing. If they do start spinning in the supermarket, then don't stop them.
That's good
And
then.
the way in which, that they learn, I think dyslexic children are much better for homeschooling if the parents have the time,
Mm. What if
because the
you're a dyslexic
one-on-one,
parent like me and you cannot homeschool?
then even better, because actually you can relate to them and you can say, okay, well, we've got this lesson, but I've thought of a different creative way in which we can learn it.
Mm.
Whether it's with cupcakes, whether it's with, umbrellas, whether it's with bales, or whether it's in a field with chickens. It doesn't really matter. There's always a creative way in which we can do things.
Mm.
So those would be the three things on that side. But for people that are dyslexic, there's the spinning, the wobble board, and throwing a ball from hand to hand that really help you. There's then, how to talk to yourself, because don't listen what other people say about you, because you're a blessing, full stop, anyway, to the world, because of the magic that you've already brought to the world, and you're
I'm writing that
special
down.
specifically.
That's a
Yeah,
very
you're
strong statement. You are a blessing to the world.
You are, and we all are, I was getting shivers down my body, but we all are a blessing to this world, and we all bring something magical and
That's
unique
that
and
passion,
different.
isn't it? The words you're
Yeah,
using shares the passion. You don't need to make them up. I can read along the lines. The share passion. You are a
yeah,
blessing to the world.
yeah,
We are a blessing to the world. Yeah.
we are. And then the third thing I would say is just, be so careful who you hang around with, because they do become your average.
Mm.
And we can excel to the skies, to, the full limit is down to the creative aspects of what you think you can get to. Yeah. At 8 years old, I never thought I'd be able to fly a helicopter. I never thought I could, create my own business and make 500,000 in 1 year without a logo. I never thought that, all these projects and borrowing 160 million, all on because I've created this umbrella. It's called LIT, which is Live in Truth.
Mhm.
And, I have a real faith about life, and God is, I have my
In
faith, and
everything.
my faith is God. There's so many different ways in people call it, the universe, the spirit, the God, but there is something intrinsic to this world when we align with it, and when we want to be a blessing to others, because we attract what we want. And when we can be a blessing to other people, there's so much more that comes to us, because it fulfills us. That passion becomes alive. And then the miracles just happen. They just fall into your lap. It's sublime. It's the most sublime life, because when we are true to ourselves, it's just the magic. It's just the magic.
Mm. Thank you so much. I'm so amazed about all the things you've said. Actually, it took me to my own self trying to realign myself while I was talking to you. And I know those who are listening to this are saying, you are a blessing to the world. You're a real blessing to the world, Rachel. Even just creating that object that you've got there, that magnet ball, you are a blessing. Sharing your story, you're a blessing to me, my listeners, and our community at large. And also the charity work that you do. Come on, who has that time that you have to do all those things if not for your creativity and your divergence or your different way of thinking? You know, dyslexia is a blessing. It's a demon at the same time, a blessing. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing today with us. What are your full names, Rachel?
Rachel Russell. So yeah,
Rachel
Rachel
Russell.
Russell is,
Thank you.
yeah.
Is it Miss
Thank you
Rachel
so
Russell?
much.
Thank you
And
so, so
and
much.
thank
I
you.
really appreciate. I want the listeners, thank you for tuning in, and they should share, comments so that this message can help somebody today. And we will not be
Yeah.
the same after listening to these conversations that we've had. It's been mind-boggling, very interactive. I'm so excited. I'm excited for you and what, the world holds for you, with your creativity. Like, who has this amount of skills? Your skills are just like, we can't count them. Is it the music, the creativity, the charity, the storytelling? You tell your story so beautifully, and I know it will help somebody. Somebody wants to hear this, Thank you. Thank you ever
See,
so much.
but can I just say one more thing?
Yes, cost
Because
too.
when children are asked, what do you want to do after school? And who are you going to be? What do you want to do? Um, you can think of it in the way of like for the rest of your life, which would just be like that would be a bit too scary, really. But when we get on and we learn different things, and as we're collating and understanding all these different things, you can do something for 2 years and then something else for 2 years, so you don't have to do something for the rest
One
of your life.
thing.
As you gather your skills, because I was really good at innovation and people. So I love inspiring people. So I started building on that little by little and it's celebrating those small little
It's bringing
wins.
all the blessing out of you because I started with being a nurse and today I'm an entrepreneur and then I'm a podcaster. People say, "Oh, where did you get all that time? Oh, you do this, you do that. You're all over the place." I am not all over the place. I'm just taking one chunk at a time. We are like
Yeah,
an onion. You fold this layer,
yeah,
you fold that layer, you fold the next one. So what's
yeah.
wrong in that? But because people who are non-dyslexic can't understand that they have to be an accountant,
Mm,
die an accountant, or be a lawyer, you know.
yeah,
But we want to change layers, isn't it? I get bored so easily, so I can't be a
yeah.
nurse for 20 years. I have to
And
be something else.
but you say you get bored easily, but is it actually because you've learned something and now you want to progress to the next thing?
Yeah,
So is it, because I think we can change the wording for that. We're fascinated with growth,
yeah.
instead of getting bored. There's a different way of looking at it and kind of how do we assimilate that and how do we move to the next level? And then once we can see it, we can attract it into our lives and it just falls in our lap. I mean, that's the magic of it. It
Mhm.
just happens. It comes onto your lap, and you think, "Where on earth did that come from? That's amazing. I was just thinking about that."
Yes,
But it's
definitely.
or like eating they say, how do you eat an elephant? You take it in
By a
bites,
bite.
one little bit of, but you can know where you're going potentially. You don't have to know, but if you don't plan, then you fall into someone else's plan. And so that is something that you've got to be aware of. So making a plan of where you want to go, what are your objectives in life,
Mm.
and then take it into the little tiny little steps, because that's exactly what it is. And then when you look back at your staircase that you've gone down or come up,
Oh,
it's
yes.
phenomenal.
I
It is
know. I
phenomenal.
know. That's so amazing. I'm so excited. Guess what? The best of us is coming at the end of the podcast. You see, we had close and then, this productive and very mind eruptive because this bit where you've told me, it's so, so, so impactful for somebody who is, say, in year 10, looking at the future, going to sixth form or living, in year 11 and having their GCSE and want to pick a career. They can work in Tesco for 2 years, then go to be something else. Then after 2 years, they do something else, and then just build that ladder, that colorful
Yeah,
ladder. I'm gonna
yeah.
make one. I'm building myself a
I
ladder.
love that. Vision boards are brilliant as well because they bring
Ooh, I
something that's
have I
passionate to
have
you.
books. If I show you the amount of books I have for my vision board, then I started doing the rolling
Brilliant.
papers. So I've got loads of them. I don't even want
Yeah.
to, because some of them are like my superpower secrets. Somebody should not
No.
stumble on them.
No, 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 absolutely. I mean, where I've got it written on my board here, places where you'd want to live. There's
Look,
your
I've got one.
dream
Look at this,
transport.
Rachel.
It's your Oh, there we go. You see, yeah, I've got a very similar. So your dream transport. Where do you want to go on holiday? What is your community? What does it look like? What are your creative pursuits? Anthropology and giving back. Those are my kind of my points in my vision board,
My
essentially.
vision board, the first thing that says this, be unstoppable woman, Petronila. Speaking to myself.
And you're a joy. You see, absolutely. But you honor yourself and to we sometimes we don't celebrate our own little successes. But and we should do because every single morning we wake up, there is more possibilities than ever before.
Yeah.
Because something new could come along and we could learn something new, and it all can happen so randomly.
Mm.
It's a magical life, and if we have that vision, if we have a plan, if we have, just the smallest inklings how to get somewhere, but it's the why, why would you want, I'm getting tingles down my body. Why do we want to do it?
The
What is
passion.
what is it in my heart that stirs me so much? Because I mean, I grew up in, my parents were missionaries. You can take the girl out of the missionary, but you can't take the missionary out of the girl. So,
Definitely not.
so, and that's, I think, yeah, I think that's why I want to help humanity because we're at a point, we're at a crossroads really at the moment, and we can fight it. We can, kind of disagree with it, or we could just create something new and something magical and phenomenal because we are creative. We are geniuses in our own right, and until we believe in that, we can struggle, but once we're there and we can see the little things and we acknowledge them and we thank ourselves, and thank you, Heart, for being so amazing. And thank you for, allowing me to be a blessing to everybody else.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so, so much on this amazing Sunday morning or the afternoon that has been defined by the universe and aligned from every center of our body. And you know what? We will change the world. The world will be a better place if we did just
Yeah.
a little bit. If we contribute just a little bit, the world will be a better place. So thank you so much, Rachel,
Thank you,
because
Petronila.
you are a
Thank
blessing
you.
to me. If I must tell you before you leave, because this is amazing. And I will start spinning every morning, and you'll see it on my Facebook page.
I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
good, brilliant. If I can inspire somebody, and just put a smile on their face because we are, every single, and it makes brainy people brainier, dyslexic people, non-dyslexic, brainy people brainier.
Yeah.
So no one can lose from the spinning. Everyone has something to gain and it's giggly, giggly fun. We like it. Laughter is the best medicine.
Oh,
It was,
yeah,
yeah,
amazing,
glorious. But
amazing,
thank you for
amazing.
your work.
Thank
Thank
you
you for your
too.
work, Petronila. Thank
Yes,
you.
I'll
Bless
share
you.
this video with you.
And
Do you know
it's
how
such.
much I worked on myself, paid for speaking programs to try and be able to tell my story? And it's okay
Yeah.
that I forget the word that I wanted to say and say something, trying to say something, and something else comes out because I'm
Oh, I
thinking,
know that.
because
Yeah.
our brain are working. So I'm having two conversations in my head. So while I'm speaking, I'm already making up the next thing. So I'm saying what was at the back of my head, not what I should be saying now. And people look at it
Mm,
like, what are you saying? Why did you say that? Oh, I'm like, oh, sorry, I wanted to say this. And then sometimes you lose your chance to even correct
yes.
it. And
Yes.
but you know what? We are happy of for who we are.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. No, and yeah. Thank you so much. It's beautiful. Yeah. That's what a lovely afternoon this has
It's
been.
been amazing having you. It's like, oh, bring on the cup of tea now and the biscuit.
Yeah,
It's time for
absolutely.
a cup of tea and a biscuit. Fantastic. Thank
I
you.
know
Oh, you
I
drink
will do.
water. Yeah, same here. Cheers then. Have a good afternoon, Rachel.
You too. Thank you
Yeah,
so much,
take care.
Petronila. Thank
Bye.
you,
Bye for
darling.
now.
Bye bye, darling.
Mhm.